Hello everybody, it's Lynn with Crafting Break. So I was going to be brave and go forward and do a Facebook Live today to do these 4 cards with you, but 2 things I realized. One, I'm going to be gone at 2 o'clock this afternoon enjoying some ice cream at an ice cream festival because goodness knows it's hot enough for ice cream these days. And 2, I realized that I can't go live in my Facebook page because I don't have enough followers. I think I read you need 100, and that's why some options weren't there for me when I was practicing or trying to practice. So, needless to say, I'm recording a video again, and I'm going to upload it, and I'm just going to hopefully go continuously through 4 cards and, I don't know, wait like 2 hours, 2 days for the video to upload. We'll have to see how this goes. So I have 4 cards for you today, and these are the free cards with a purchase. So let me explain how that works. If you make a purchase through my online store of $40 or more, and it doesn't have to be anything I'm showing you, it can be anything else that you have had your eye on, that you've been wanting, $40 or more, and I'll put a link to the special code in the description of this video. I will send you all the parts and pieces to make these cards with the exception of the stamp set and the die cut pieces that go with this bundle. So what I'm using today is called Country Flowers, and all 4 cards will be using this set. So we're going to be using the stamp set and the dies, and I have kind of designed the cards to be simple in the beginning, so just ink, paper, stamp. And then as we get to the last one, there'll be a lot of pieces involved, like the designer series paper, or as I'll call DSP, the dies. So they'll get a little more complicated as we go through, but I wanted to start simple and then make my way up. So this first card is a sympathy card. It's got a couple layers, but it's pretty basic. And if you can see, I did splatter some petal pink blends onto it. I like it. I think on the second card I'm not going to do it because it does over time ruin the tip of your pen a little bit, the blender pen, which are these right here. So on this next card I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to keep that card up in the corner and hopefully I have all my pieces ready. So in my kits, normally what I do is you'll get everything you need to make the card inside the card base. And then it'll be in an envelope, and the piece that goes on the inside of your card will always be tucked behind. That way, if there's any size differences, you'll always know that the piece behind the card base tucked in the envelope is for the inside. So let's get stamping first. I'm going to start, and I'm using Memento Black on this one because we are coloring with blends. Sorry for my reach, my stamps are sitting up here. So I'm going to start with a sentiment that says with heartfelt sympathy, and I'm going to stamp that towards the top left. Okay, and then we're going to build our flower arrangement. So I'm starting with the watering can, which I think is my favorite. Oops, sorry, it's probably shaking a little bit, just noticed that. Let's put that about right here. Okay, and the next is the flower bundle. Now, if the image is a little bigger, or the stamp is a little bigger than your ink pad, I sometimes will go ink to stamp instead of stamp to ink. It's just a little easier, and then I'm not rocking, and I get better coverage that way. So now let's stamp this about right. Oh, right here looks great. There's no right or wrong, right? Nobody's going to know. All right, we'll cover that up. Now let's do some coloring. For the watering can, I use Smoky Slate, both light and dark. So we'll start with that. I think if you've seen my video before, my one video before, I am not a coloring expert, so I just do whatever I want to do. You know, it's going to be fine. Wherever it's supposed to kind of be like wherever you would see some shadow. In my room today, you're gonna know it might be a little dark today. Sorry if it is. It is what, 8:30 here right now because I wanted to get this tape before I wanted to get this tape with plenty of time to upload it, but it's hot already. I actually turned my air on already. I slept without the air on last night, and then I usually try to cool my house down in the morning by blowing as much air in it as I can, but that was not happening this morning, so my air is on already. And hopefully I can turn it off later so the bill's not going to be so high, because gosh, I tell you, this time of year. So I like to use the paintbrush tip, and I say that with a caveat that over time, if you use the paintbrush tip a lot, it tends to get a little harder to color with, and that's about when I move to the other side of the pen. But you get, what's the word I want to look for? Better coverage. It covers a lot faster, so I like to use it first, and then if like I said, if it's not so good anymore, then I kind of move to the other side. Or if I'm coloring a really, really small area, I will use the other tip. It's a paintbrush tip. I don't know if you can see that. And then it's I don't even know which way to go, this way. A more fine tip. Okay, let me get this over here. Now I'm going to color the flowers. For this, I kept it pretty simple. I am using Dark Daffodil Delight for the center of the two flowers. And again, this time I am going to use the pointed end because this is such a tiny little circle. And that is all I need. And now I'm going to use Pretty in Pink, both dark and light. And I didn't get too creative with coloring here. With the smaller flowers, I tend to think when the flower is newer, it's a little darker, so I'm going to use the dark Pretty in Pink on those. And this is a new blend set, so the paint tip is so nice. I don't know, for me, I think when the flower's newer, it's probably a little darker than if it's been in bloom for a while and maybe about to, I don't know, be done. Okay. And then here, I just did a little circle around that. And then on this, I did these little petals pink. Like I said, it's really no right or wrong way. However you want to color flowers. And then I'm using the lighter Pretty in Pink now. And I'm going around. This is the Pretty in Pink I used to do the flick, and it's already, I can tell the difference. The tip is a little, it's not as firm or fine anymore. So that's why I'm not going to use it. I had seen another demonstrator do that technique before, and it is nice, but these pens are so new, I don't want to do it again and not be able to use that tip of my pen for very much longer because it's my favorite side. And you can see the cap. I don't know if you can, but the cap is where you flick it like this to get that splatter effect. Okay, with the leaves, I'm using Dark and Light Old Olive. This I kind of thought was a set of leaves. You'll see in another card I did that a little differently, and it didn't. I colored it like a flower. So what I'm doing on this one is all these little leaves, I'm using the dark because I wanted some contrast in the colors of my leaves. So on all of these, it's the dark. Pretty sure that's what I did. Yeah, it is. Not that it has to be the exact same. And you can see here, these are a little small, so if you wanted to use the other tip, you could. And if you get outside the line a little bit like I have, no big deal. I am going to flip on those because those are very, very tiny. See, it works more like a marker. All right. Let's move over here. Get these. I think this one is dark. You get to see me color today. Really doesn't take that long. And I love to color, so. You know, I was one of those people that said I will never get the blends. I don't need them. I don't color that much. Surprise, surprise, I have a whole container of blends now. So now I'm going to go in with the light Old Olive, and I'm just going to blend those colors a little bit there by going in a circular motion. And then I think to me the leaves look like, if the term is variegated, I think, it just gives the leaves a little dimension in the coloring. We're almost done coloring. Just a little bit. All right, there we go. So you can see how the leaves have dark and light there. And that literally is all the stamping we're gonna do on the outside. On the inside, I did put Sending Love. So let's take that piece and stamp it up, or ink it up, I should say. And then we can assemble our first card. Okay. We are ready to assemble. So first, we're going to layer this white piece onto this basic black piece. And of course, I like to use liquid glue. I think I mentioned it before. I never glue anything on straight, so this gives me wiggle room to move it around if I need to. I did pretty good on that one. Okay. Now I'm going to glue the inside sentiment. And while I'm here, I'm just going to put glue on this other piece too, because this is the layer for the outside. Okay. Which one's the center? The inside, I should say. So this goes on the inside. Sorry if it's crooked. Okay. Let's put the outside layer on. Oops, stay there, card. I usually lean over all the way to look at what I'm doing, and I can't because there's cameras in my way. Okay, I'm going to reinforce that score line now with my bone folder. And then this piece I popped up on dimensionals. So let me grab my dimensionals over here. Might as well get this one out too. Okay. And I think I'm pretty much on the ends. I am, except one piece right here. So bear with me while I cut. Don't ever throw away your dimensionals when all you have left are the edge pieces, because these are just as good. And you can actually cut these down and use them for smaller sizes, so these are perfect. Use every last bit of that package. Okay, now we'll grab some of these larger ones for the corners. Hopefully I'm in view there. I like a lot of dimensionals. It's just me. You do you. I like to make sure it's fully covered. All right, I'm just gonna pull this trash can in real quick so I can throw my dimensionals in there. I shouldn't say trash can, my little recycle bin in my craft room / work office. Everything has a multi-purpose when you live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo, right? Is it on that? Oh, I got them all. Yep, I got them all. Okay. Well, let's put this on. Okay, and now we're going to add rhinestones. I use rhinestones for all 4 cards. So we'll just sprinkle a few of those around. Let me move this pack out of the way. And there's 3 sizes in here. There's this large, medium, and small ones. And you just use whatever ones you want. I tend to like odd numbers. So I'll do 5. I think I did 5 before. And I'm gonna put one there. Okay, card number 1, done. Sympathy card. Oops, that's not the card, this is the card. Okay, there's that one. Moving on to card number 2. But before I do that, let's clean my stamp sets. And you get to watch me do that because there's no pause in between this time around. I'm just gonna whip through these hopefully. I like the scrub mat. Some people use the chamois. I don't know, I'm maybe old school. I like this one to clean my stamp sets. Okay, this is the next card we're going to make. Again, super simple. And this is, the layout is from a global design project. And so every week they give you something that you can follow or duplicate, but without telling you exactly what to use. So sometimes sometimes the theme will be travel. This is a sketch, so there was a sketch provided and you just put the parts and pieces in to make it look like the sketch. And so I thought, this is the first time I've ever decided to do one of those. So that's where this card came from. All they showed us was the base. I should have had a photo of that ready. This layer right here, this piece right here, and the rest was up to you. So this is what I came up with. Again, pretty simple. And the inside it says, "So lucky to know you." So let me get that stamp ready because I don't have that one out. Oh, wait, do I? No, I don't. It is right here in the corner. Okay. And again, you'll see no, oh, there is die cutting on this one. So it is a little bit stepped up. Okay. Let's start with stamping. Oh, and I do need some scrap white. Let's start with our stamping as always. And I used, for the sentiments, I used Misty Moonlight. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside and the sending love right now in Misty Moonlight. Let's get that. Hopefully I'm in view here. Sometimes I can't. I don't forget to look to make sure I'm still in view. Oh, that was a really messy stamp. Let's just be careful. Whew. And you know what? If you mess up, you get 2 chances on this one. You flip it over if you got too much ink on it. A light tap, tap, tap is all we need. Okay, and we'll fussy cut that one. Okay, we're done with the Misty Moonlight. Let's bring in Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and we're going to stamp the leaves and the pail. So I do need to switch out some of these stamp sets too, so I can get the leaves. It's the first time I'd use the leaves on this card. And the bucket, pale bucket, I don't know what it is. I interchange what I call it sometimes. Okay, those stamps are ready. Another scrap piece of paper. Let's see if I can fit it on here. Might be a little tight there. All right, that's okay. There's always scrap paper in the craft room. Okay, let's get Memento ink going. Now you'll see the bucket, pail, whatever you want to call it. I just got my finger in that. Is an okay size for me to go stamp to ink. There's that. But the leaves are a little larger, so I'm going to go ink to stamp. And sometimes with Memento Black ink, I do a slight little twist with it just to make sure I get good coverage. And I'm going to put that right next to it. Okay, there we go. That is... Oh, that's almost it for stamping. We have one more thing to stamp in Misty Moonlight. I forgot. I'll get this small block out. I didn't want just a plain banner tag up here, so I did some stamping, color on color. And there's this tiny little stamp in the set right here. And I just grabbed that and did random stamping down the banner. But actually, I'm not going to cut the banner first. I think I cut the banner first and then stamped it, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm actually going to go ahead and randomly stamp. I'm going to stamp it right on the glass mat. It's okay because I can clean the ink right off of this. So no right or wrong way. Just give it some stamps. It's okay if you miss something. This is all about being not perfect. Okay. Now we're done with Misty Moonlight. And all my blocks are sitting over here that need to be cleaned. And rubs right off. I probably should have a wipey in here, but I don't right now. So we'll just use my finger. Okay. Let's isolate these images so we can die cut them. Put that scrap back. Oh, and while we have the scissors, let's banner cut this. So how I do it is I go right up the center, and then I go from the bottoms up. Now, bottoms up, like that's a shot glass. There are punches that will do the same thing, but, you know, sometimes it's just easier to grab a pair of scissors. Oh, and while we have the scissors, let's cut this out. Fussy cut. Now, keep in mind that I'm going to use mini dimensionals behind this, so I want to make sure, especially when I get down to where it says sending, I have enough room for those. So I'm not going to cut too close to the wording, because I want to make sure I leave, and again, you can cut the dimensionals down if you didn't leave enough room. And this does not have to be perfect. This is rough cutting, so it doesn't matter what it looks like. As long as you don't chop the word off, right? I guess you don't want to do that. Okay, let's make some room here, and I'm probably going to, let me move to my floor. I'm probably going to wiggle a bit on this one because I am bringing my little mini stamp, cut, and emboss machine. That's a mouthful sometimes. I didn't want to bring the big one up, so I'm going to have to run this through twice. So let me move this up. And let me get the dies out. So again, here's the die set. And I always put mine on magnetic sheets so they don't move around too much. We want the pail, and this will cut out the leaves. Now what I do is I use Post-it note tape to hold mine down. It's just this. Amazon, I'm sure. Maybe Target. I honestly can't remember. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. You can find it anywhere. I know it wasn't a Stapler or Office Depot because I don't have those anymore. They've all closed up where I live, so it definitely wasn't one of those. So I like to put my image on Post-it tape on a flat surface first and then put it up to the cut machine. Now with my mini, I don't sandwich my plates and make the edge flush. I stick the top plate over just slightly so the machine has something to catch, and it goes through smoother for me. It might be different for your machine if you have one, but that's how my mini likes to function. Okay, so that is, and you notice we did color those. I'm going to color them after. I wanted to get the cutting out of the way. You can color first and then cut. Probably should have colored and then cut so I have something to hold on to, but I jumped ahead a little bit. I was so excited to die cut these out. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And again, sorry if I'm, nope, I think I am on camera for that. Oops, I shifted. Okay. I'm not, if you see me reaching, that's where my, oh, you already know, that's where my recycle bins are. Let's see how much I make it. All right, here we go. Hopefully it's not too much of a shake. It's going to be a table shake for sure. I'm just hoping it's not too bad. All right. Let's get the leaves out. I think I can use these one more time. So I think the first time I did a video, I had everything cut and ready to go. This time I decided to do everything so you can see it. Okay, all our parts and pieces. Here we go. For the pail, bucket, whatever we're calling it, I used crumb cake, and I used dark and light. So let's start with the dark. And I just colored this little piece of the bucket dark. These are new too, so nice. And the bottom part, and I think I'm gonna do a little bit down the side, like there's shadow from the hot San Diego sun. And then let's blend that in. Circular motion again. And right when you first add the color, you think, that's not really blending very well. But give it a minute, it will. And then if you're not happy with the way it looks, just go back over it again. You don't want to do too much ink because you will saturate your paper a little bit, but it's okay to go back over once or twice if you don't like the way it blends. There's also something called a color lifter that will lift up color and give you more shading. I don't use that one as often because like I mentioned, I am not a coloring expert, and I'm okay with normally with the way it looks, so I don't worry about it. Okay, the pale bucket's done, and now let's do the leaves. On this one, you'll notice I'm only going to do a couple at a time. And see, my leaves kind of cut a little crooked. Well, that's all right. You're never going to notice it once it's all colored. And again, that variegated look. Let's go with it. Variegated look. I like the center to be just a little darker. So we'll switch back and forth with the light and dark. Maybe 3 at a time is a good number. With 2 at the end. So this ice cream festival we're going to today, it's going to be fun. I went last year for the first time, and I think it's a nonprofit that puts it on. And there's a bunch of different ice cream vendors, and you get samples at each of the booths. You get a total of, I think, 8 tastings. And last year we went, and my friend and I couldn't even finish the 8, so it was a lot of ice cream, which is surprising to say because you think they're tasters, but it was a lot of ice cream. So this year we got 3 tickets, and we're inviting some family with us. My nephew's coming, let's face it, he's about to be 5 at the end of July, but Silas is going with us too, so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very hot, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That's a good way to try different ice cream shops in the city, and I don't know, get outside and sweat it all off. I say that like it's super hot. It's not like it's Florida hot here. I've got friends in Florida. It's not humid hot, but it's hot for us. I think 90s. Okay, I'm going to color these little stems right here, and there we go. That is done. Okay, I think we're ready to assemble. So let's start with gluing the inside into the card, and let's be careful not to get my cards under these ink stamps over here because I haven't cleaned them yet. This glue bottle's about to run out, but I'll show you how you can get a lot more glue out of that bottle. A little arm workout and some shaking. Okay, there's the inside. Now let's put the outside layer on. Something on my cardstock. Now you'll notice that this paper came from the DSP pack that is sold with, I don't want to say sold with, but it's a coordinating product with the stamp set. Let me show that to you real quick in the catalog. So you see that's where I pulled in the DSP. Here's the suite right here. So here's the paper I'm using, and here's the stamp set and the dies. And that's all I'm using from this is the paper and the dies. The dies and the stamps, the ink, the rhinestones are from another, or just at the back of the catalog. So this piece of DSP, the color changes a little bit. So if you get the paper, like in this kit, you would get this paper, the cardstock, the white scrap, this Misty Moonlight, the white scrap to make these. And then what you would have to provide, you would get the stamps or the dies, or use whatever you have in your craft room and put anything else on the card. It doesn't have to be this. So this piece could look different, right? Because it already looks different between my first sample and this one, because the color does change on it. And it's always like, did I like that? I like that side too. It's sometimes so hard to choose which side of a sheet of DSP you want to use. Okay, now the banner to the top, dot dot. There's a lot of glue at the top there. Let's see if it oozes out. I think right there looks good. I just won't smush it. All right, let that dry before I, see, crooked. Time to move it. Okay, let's get some mini dimensionals so we can pop our sentiment up. Now, how did I build this? I'm going to run a little bit of glue at the top there. There's a couple ways to do this. This is the way I like to do it. Okay, right there looks good. Flip it over, and now let's use some dimensionals. You could just adhere the top piece and the bottom piece with the dimensional right away. Oh, I already pulled them out. But, I don't know. I like to sometimes run a little bit of glue too. And I will cover that with a dimensional as well. Now let's use all these scraps. And again, like I mentioned, I love using dimensionals. So there's going to be a lot on this little piece. And see, cutting these allows me to get up here into these leaves so nothing's missing. And I think I can get this one right. It's a little tight. We'll just rip it apart and put that piece right here. All right, put that to the side. Now I'm going to bring my little mini recycle bin in again to pull all these backings off. Sorry if my hand's in your way. Let me get what I'm doing is, I think I'm out of camera when I do that. I'm just ripping the backing off and tossing it in. And let's take them off the minis while it's here. I have no nails right now, as usual. Okay, let's start with this. It's our focal point. I'm going to put it about there. And our sentiment. And of course, bring in the rhinestones. Where's my take your pick tool? Right here. 1, 2, oops, 3, let's go 4, like I said, random. Oops, didn't come off. I think you'll see me using 2 different sides. I like to use a spatula to get the larger ones off, and then this end has putty, and I just pick them up with putty. Okay, there you go. Card number 2. Sending love. So lucky to know you. And looks a little different because of this DSP right here. And again, look, the coloring is slightly different too. It'll lighten up a little bit more, but that's card number 2. Let me clean my stamp sets real quick before we move on to stamp number 3. Or card number 3, not stamp number 3. And this needs a good clean too, because my goodness, have I been making a lot of cards, so I really need to clean this. These trays pop out, and you just rinse them out. Okay, moving on to card number 3. This is the 3rd card, and you can see it's, again, slightly stepped up because I have used the dies. I went a little further with the DSP paper. I don't know if you can see, but I've got 1 solid piece of DSP on the first layer, and then these are 3 strips that I've popped up with dimensionals. And it says nothing, oh, sorry, it does. So lucky to know you inside. And I had a little finger smudge on that one. So this is the next card. Pretty simple in terms of, it's really not that much that's going on, but, you know, slightly. Okay, let's get the scrap piece of paper out. And I do believe I used memento inside. I think we'll just go ahead and do the same thing. So let's get all the pieces out to stamp. Inside and scrap for the flowers and the pail again. So let me switch out the leaves for the leaves for the flowers. I think I've used every stamp in this set except 1. So we're getting there. We're getting there. I like to try to use every stamp in a set. Okay, so we've got that. We've got this. Oh, and we need the little little stamp that says Flower Market, which we can use because we're done with this one. And I'm going to put that on straight, so let me set that aside real quick. I'll show you how I put those on straight. So I line it up with the grid marks, and then I pick it up with my block. And now it's on straight. Because if I didn't do that, it would not be on straight. Okay, Memento black ink. Let's move that out of the way real quick and do these. Pale again. And the flowers. I guess I could have used a different flower set for this one. There's this flower set right here. That's the only one in the stamp set I haven't used. I could have used it on this one, but I wanted it to cover more space. So I chose to use this stamp image again. And stamp that down. And now we need the inside piece for the sentiment, which is right here. Nice little simple card to send a friend, letting them know you're thinking of them. Okay, set that aside. I'll clean those in a minute. This time, let's go ahead and color. That's my inside. Let's color before we die cut. So again, like last time, I'm using crumb cake for the pale, and I did color first before I added the Flower Market stamp, because I didn't want the ink to bleed. I mean, it won't bleed if you're, you know, not heavy with the blend, but I wanted a crisper image, so I did stamp that after I colored. This piece is in my way, I should chop it off. And honestly, too, when I was making this card, that stamp was a last-minute decision, so it's another reason why I had colored first before adding the stamp. Sometimes I design a card and I looked at it and I'm like, it just needs one more thing. And sometimes I make a card and I'm like, nope, don't like it at all. Change everything. It's funny. I think I've mentioned this before. I'm my own worst critic. Sometimes I'll design a card for one of my classes, and I think, oh gosh, this is so simple. Nobody's gonna like this card, but you know, I'm just gonna go with it. And I have to remember that sometimes simple is what people are looking for. Not everyone has the same style of stamping, and so I just need to go with it and trust it. And it's okay if someone doesn't like a card. They can change it up or, you know, make it their own. We all have different tastes, right? Okay, so for this flower bouquet, I did something different. So my coloring was slightly simpler. So I did do a yellow center on this one. And then this is where I said in the earlier card, I went with this as being, I don't know, some sort of flower. And I did not get all, okay, whoopsies. I am going to cut this end off because it is getting in my way of paper rotating. I forget what I was saying. But I didn't use the light and dark Daffodil Delight on this one. I kept it somewhat simple. And in my world, this is now a flower. I just wanted this to have more color to it than the first one. I thought in a sympathy card the bouquet would be more simple. And so that's kind of what I went with on that one. And I'm bringing in Pretty in Pink again and Highland Heather for the purple. And so let's use the dark. This flower is similar to the one I did before. And I think I'm going to color this one or pink, and maybe this one pink. And I think that's it. And then my light Pretty in Pink for the petals. on my sample, I was going crazy with the pink, and I realized, oh wait, I want some of those smaller flowers to be purple. And it ended up being just the ones at the bottom. So this time I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing. Oh, and I did do a little bit of yellow in the center of this one, but my hand got a little heavy on the purple, and I might have covered it up on my sample a little bit. So let's color these purple. So my sample had no purple flowers up here because I forgot and went crazy with the pretty and pink. And so my color was all focused, the purple was all focused at the bottom. And this is dark. And let's do this one dark too. Okay. And now we'll go in with the light Highland Heather on these petals. This glass mat I'm stamping on, I just got it. So they had released these to demonstrators a while ago, and I was like, I don't need one of those, I'm not getting that. And then it was a special, if you signed up as a demonstrator, you could get it in your starter kit. And real quick, I'm just going to use the light Old Olive to color the leaves. So then only those who signed up as a new demonstrator were able to get it. And then I started seeing all these demonstrators using the glass mat and how great it was that you could, you know, if you're using a blending brush, you could start off the edge on the glass mat because the glass mat can just be easily cleaned up. And I thought, oh, I should have got that. Who knew? So I had been waiting to see if it would come back, and by golly, it did. So this last order, I'm like, that's it, I'm getting the glass mat. So this is my first time using it and stamping on it, and I thought, well, gosh, how are photopolymer stamps going to stamp? Because normally you like to have a little cushion, and I use paper, Stampin' Up! Grid paper, and I put it on top of a foam mat when I stamp, and so I have a little cushion when I'm stamping, and this doesn't have that, but it works very well. And so far I'm liking it. And then, you know, for me, the paper tends to get all crunched up on one end, so this way I'm not using paper, and I can clean this mat. So, you know, live and learn. Should have got it when I saw it, thought, nah, don't need it. Then, of course, why of course would you not need that? Okay, let's bring in the mini again, and let's make some room for it. But before we do, let's get our dies so we can get them centered. I haven't used this die yet. And I will figure out where all those go later. I put them all on the oh, the thing goes right here. I put them all on a magnetic sheet so it's a little easier, but I'll deal with it later. Okay, let's bring these Post-it notes up and get the cat fur out of the way. Twist until we figure out which way it goes. This way. Yep, this way. You just twist it, you'll eventually figure out how it lines up. Okay, that looks good. And let's get the mini up. Get my ab workout by reaching to the ground. Because, you know, as always, a 6-foot table and you end up with like 4 feet of workspace because it is covered up with a lot of stuff. I'm trying to be careful so I don't shake it too much. And these little Post-it note tape pieces work for quite a few pass-throughs. Okay, the pail. And I was gonna, I'll stamp the image after I cut it out since I have the die cut machine. I almost forgot to do that. Hopefully I'm still in camera. Oh, see, you can't see that. Sorry about that. Sometimes I need to look up to make sure it's still in view. Alright, run that through the machine. Shake the table. Ab workout. I think I can use these again too. These are getting some good work. All right, plates to the ground. Okay, let's stamp that farm, or what does it say? Flower market. Oops, there we go. Now it is time to assemble. So what I did here is I glued the DSP down. And put it off to the right, like this. And then these 3 strips, now you can probably see them better, I popped up with dimensionals. We'll bring in the new pack since these will line up. So it's line up a little better behind the planks, if you will. I almost thought, I'll show you what I was thinking about doing. Maybe I'll do it on this one. I'll see what it looks like. At first glance when looking at this, I thought, oh, that's like a barn door. Should I put a little dot to look like a door? But I didn't. So maybe I will on this one to see what it looks like. All right, let's get these dimensional backings off. Now, how I did this is it's not flush to the top. I went down just a bit, and then I came to the bottom and did the bottom one. And again, not flush to the bottom. And then the third one, I just went right to the middle of the 2. Now, if you're on my email list, I will be sending out PDF tutorials on how to make these cards as well. And if you're not, I can put the link to sign up, so you can sign up and get my emails, which would include, you know, things, classes I have, specials that Stampin' Up! Does. These tutorials, everyone gets for free automatically. I just send it to them. So I will include that link as well, so you can sign up if you're interested. Okay, let's use up the rest of this little dimensional pack. Goodbye. And finish off with these. And again, I didn't put one right there, but that's okay. It'll be okay. Let's just put one tiny one right there. Because why not? All right. Oh, you know what? I did that wrong. That should be okay. I only wanted dimensionals on one side because this is already popped up, but I think I can make it fit. I didn't even think about that. Yes, I think it'll be okay. Let me take this one off. It'll be all right. Usually when this is popped up, you want it to be flush on that side, but I think we're going to be okay. I'll just wiggle it to get it in between the planks the best I can. And if it's not working, I can go back and take a dimension off. Well, perfect. We're okay. All right, there we go. And let's glue these pieces to our card base. So when you make your card, just note that you only want dimensionals on this side and you want nothing over there except maybe a little bit of glue. I got a little happy with my dimensionals, as I usually do. But if you do mess up, they're very easy to take off. And the little bit of adhesive that it might leave behind, you can just roll that off. All right. Let's get those dimensionals. And I just used, I guess I will use a big one too. I was using it in my other pack, and so I didn't have really any large rhinestones left, so I just wanted to use up all the babies. Let's go there. And let's go, oops, didn't pick it up. And let's go there. All right. Should I add a little black dot like it's a door? that opens this way. Sure, let's just, I kind of put a rhinestone in the way. We can make that be the door. Let's just do it, see what it looks like. Don't do it. You know, I was curious, and now I know. Kind of like it without it. But hey, you don't know until you try. Okay, that's card number 3. Moving on to card number 4 and the last one, the stepped up version of all step ups. This one you can see I've got DSP, I've got some stamping on DSP, I've got a lot of die cut going on. So there's just a lot of things going on with this card. So let's get some stamp sets cleaned up, because we're gonna, and then I'll just see what I'm using. I'm using this one, again, the pale bucket. Oops, sorry about that. We do not need this one. That's one thing, if you drop on this glass mat, you're gonna hear it now. I think I put Best Friend Ever, so we do need to get that stamp out. Okay, let's do some switching up here of stamps. Let's just take this off. We are done with this one. We're done with this one. So this one doesn't have a ton of stamping, but it's a lot of die cutting. So bear with me on that. Okay, I need the pail and this long one. So let's get this one. And I should have a long block somewhere right here. Pick that one up. And I need the pail. I'm sorry, the stool. It's not a pail. And I think that's everything. I will figure it out as I go along if I miss something. Okay. Oh, and look, I don't have my white card bases in this one. That's okay. There's always extras sitting here. So what I did is there's a piece of DSP in the pack that has a bunch of horizontal planks, if you will. And so I cut it to the length I needed, which is, I think that's 5 1/4. Let's just double check. Pretty sure it's 5 1/4. Watch, I'll be wrong. I totally lied. It's 4. 5 1/4 is the other direction. It's 4. So I cut it to 4 inches, and then I just cut along the plank, the horizontal line. I just cut along that with my paper trimmer. So you'll see this piece I used on that card and this piece I used on that card. So your kit could have anything, any of these planks in it. And so because of that, I'm going to do this card a little differently. I'm going to go ahead and pull in maybe this one, and let's use, I don't know, let's use that one because there's lots of those. And those will be the pieces I use for this card. And then we have a lot of stuff going on here. We've got, because we're die cutting some flowers. So this is another piece of DSP, and I actually stamped the stool on it, and then I die cut the stool because I wanted a wood grain stool. So let's, as usual, start with our stamping. And again, I'm going to use this time Memento for the stool. Let's get that stamped. Let me make sure I'm in view, because I realize I might have been out of view part of the time. Okay, there's the stool. And for the pot this time, or the pail, the whatever, I use crumb cake. So I'm doing color on color. This one's a little bit simpler because we're not coloring it. So there's actually no coloring on this one. I'm just die cutting a lot. Okay, that's done. And we'll stamp the sentiment as we're assembling, because I want placement before I put that down. Okay, so let's get to die cutting. Let's get all these pieces out of the way for now. We're going to need this as usual. This one. For the leaves, I used this one. And a lot of flowers. but this die set comes with a lot of flowers, so you're going to be okay. And I use this one, and I used one of these leaves. All right, I think I'm going to put everything to the side first, and then bring the machine in. Okay. Let's start with the bucket, pail bucket. So a little nice that we're not having to color this time around. Oh, I just realized you probably can't see that. You can pretty much see where to line up the die with your stamped image, but it might help to see. Now, if I had my large machine up here, I could pass through more than one of these at a time. Actually, I can do that. So let's put these here, and let's put this one here as well. Yeah. And those should not need post-it tape because they shouldn't go anywhere. And they're not die cutting a stamped image, right? So it's not like if they shift a little bit, it's going to be a problem. Sorry for the shaking. And we lost the die. It should come out. Maybe. Well, that's odd. Where did it go? Oh, there it is, right there. I heard it. Usually they pop right out, and it did. Okay, and has my... That's how I sometimes get my dies out. You just toss them. And then, of course, you got to make sure you don't lose the pieces as they fly. You could use the take your pick tool and poke them out. Sometimes it's just easier to give them a little toss. Okay, we're done with that one. Like this one might not want to come out. So, grab your take your pick tool, change the end. Oops, that end fell off. And poke the little stubborn thing out. Okay, what's next? Let's go with the stool, because that's the other thing we're going to need to anchor down with some post-it note tape. And I think I'm on the last. Let me make sure I'm up here so you can see what I'm doing. This one could be a little tricky to see because you're stamping on wood grain. I will tell you that I die cut this on my sample. I die cut this first, and then I looked at it and I said, "Wow, it kind of needs a little dimension and it needs some detail." And so I stamped the image after I die cut it out. And because they're photopolymer, you can see through it, and it turned out just fine. So let's run that one through too. So even if you add something later to a die cut piece, with photopolymer you can see, and you have a second chance of adding the stamp to the cut image if you change your mind. Let's move these to the side. Let's see, maybe we can still use them. Okay, our stool, these flowers. It's a lot of pieces. A lot of pieces to this one, but that's okay. It's a really pretty card, I think. And last is these leaves, and we can get all of these on one. And again, we don't need to worry about post-it note tape because we're not cutting anything that's been stamped, as long as they don't shift off the sheet. Okay, there we go. Done with the little mini machine. I'm done with those dies. Get all of this out of our way. All right, there's all of our pieces. See, a lot of pieces. And in this kit, you know, all you would get is the scrap paper. Obviously, I'm not going to die cut anything for you, so if you got the bundle, you would have what you needed to die cut your pieces. Okay, let's bring our card back in. Let's start with gluing down these two pieces of DSP, so we know what section we're working with for stamping and building out our card front. I think I'm going to go this direction with it. Okay, and this piece for the bottom. There we go. Now, what I did next is I added the bench, so I'm just going to glue that. And again, you can see how different these look, right? It's a different piece of the paper. Same paper, different area of the paper. So, bench stool, it'll look different every time because the paper's so different. And what I did with that is I want to leave some room to put a flower and a leaf over here. So I'm going to put it just about right there. And let's crick it a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm going to glue the pail down next. See, I'm gluing all this down in hopes that I'm not going to make a mistake when I stamp my image. You know what though? There's bling, rhinestone, anything can cover that up and fix it. Okay, there's the pail. All right, let's go with these now. So what I'm going to do with all of these is I'm going to flip them over and I'm going to put some glue on everything right now. I think I used them all. If not, no big deal. Actually, I think I did because one went on the inside. No, it didn't. I used them all. Okay, so let's get our glue. And for the flowers, I'm only going to put them, actually I'm going to start with the leaves because I'm going to glue those down first. Oops, that's a little heavy. I'm just putting random dots in places. The die cut does put a little slit in the leaves, so I'm just going to the side of those so I don't have glue oozing out when I put it down. And on the flowers, I'm just putting a little dot in the center of them. All right, there we go. Let's pull the leaves up and let's build this up. I think right there looks good. Hold it down with your fingers for a little bit. Okay, let's get this large pink flower and put it right there. Oh, you know what? I did pop those up with dimensionals on my sample. That's okay, these will be flat. Just know that, oops, that little lead's going somewhere. Totally forgot I did that for some great dimension. You can see these are popped up. So that's an option too. You can pop up those flowers on the potted plant. This one will just be different. I'll show you another way to do it, right? Okay, this leaf bundle duo, it's like it's falling off the plant, right? That's kind of what I was going with. These pieces fell off the plant. And, you know, putting glue down on all this early, it remains tacky, but the glue, it's not as fluid anymore. And so if you were heavy-handed with your glue, it's not a problem because it's not going to ooze out because you've let it dry a little bit. So that's kind of why, and also, I mean, who wants to take the top off a glue bottle all the time and put it back on? And this one's just sitting on the bench. Okay, there's our scene. Let's do some more stamping. Let's get Misty Moonlight and stamp So Lucky to Know You and not make a mistake because the card is built. And it fit that space so nicely, so that's pretty much why I used that sentiment. And Best Friend Ever. How I designed this card is I went from the images down. So I started with die cutting everything and then building the scene and then decided to pull in the DSP and then the placement. So sometimes that's what I do. I'll just start cutting and die cutting pieces and then playing with the scene and then figuring out, okay, now that looks good on this card base. And sometimes I design totally differently. I know I want to use this color. Now what coordinates with this color? So lots of different ways on how I design cards. And there's a lot of designers out there that provide great inspiration too. So even the catalog provides great inspiration. You can case it, which means copy and share everything. or it can be a great starting point to get a good idea and then just, you know, change a few things. So so you can see my ink here is Misty Moonlight, because in the beginning I thought I was going to use Misty Moonlight as the card base because of this piece. But then I didn't like it when I put it against it, so then I changed it to Petal Pink. So you just never know. You have something in your mind and it might come out completely different. Oops, that flower just wanted to move on me. Might come out differently than what you thought. You might need a little bit, nope, you are sitting there. Like you might need a little more glue. All right, now let's finish this off with some rhinestones. Yeah, I'm gonna put another dot of glue there. It wants to stay, but not really. It wants to fall to the bottom with its friends. And I don't want you to fall down there. I need a trio of them right there. Okay, rhinestones, rhinestones. What I did is I used 3 large rhinestones in this, medium rhinestones in the center of these flowers. Basically, every flower has a rhinestone center on this card. So there's quite a few rhinestones. And the baby ones fit perfectly in all of these. So pretty little centers for the flowers. All right, and there you have it, card number 4. So again, if you like the cards and you would love the card kits, I will put the link that has the special code for ordering, $40 or more, and I will send you all the parts and pieces to make these 4. And the ordering deadline is next Sunday, and that will be when I cut it off and send you, that way it'll give me time to cut the kits and then mail those. If you have any questions, I'm always here via Facebook, email, craftingbreak74@gmail.com. And I thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support in my little small business that I love to do. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.